Hi, my name is Anna Wolff, and I'm the Curator of Arts Education at the Kenosha Public Museum. And I will be reading an excerpt from a talk that Coretta Scott King delivered on April 27th, 1968, to a crowd in Central Park in New York City. My dear friends of peace and freedom, I come to New York today with a strong feeling that my dearly beloved husband, who was snatched suddenly from our midst, slightly more than 3 weeks ago now, would have wanted me to be present today. Though my heart is heavy with grief from having suffered an irreparable personal loss, my faith in the redemptive will of God is stronger today than ever before. As many of you probably know, my husband had accepted an invitation to speak to you today, and had he been here, I am sure he would have lifted your hearts and spirits to new levels of understanding in his customary fashion. I would like to share with you some notes taken from my husband's pockets upon his death. He carried these scraps of paper, which he scribbled notes for his many speeches. Among these notes was one set that he never delivered. Perhaps they were his early thoughts for the message he was to give to you today. I am sure that he would have developed and delivered them in his usual eloquent and inspired fashion. I simply read them to you as he recorded them. And I quote, 10 Commandments on Vietnam. Thou shalt not believe in a military victory. Thou shalt not believe in a political victory. Thou shalt not believe that they, the Vietnamese, love us. Thou shalt not believe that the Saigon government has the support of the people. Thou shalt not believe that the majority of the South Vietnamese look upon the Viet Cong as terrorists. Thou shalt not believe the figures of killed enemies or killed Americans. Thou shalt not believe that the generals know best. Thou shalt not believe that the enemy's victory means communism. Thou shalt not believe that the world supports the United States. Thou shalt not kill. These are Martin Luther King's 10 Commandments on Vietnam. You who have worked with and loved my husband so much, you who have kept alive the burning issue of war in the American conscience, you who will not be deluded by talk of peace, but who press on in the knowledge that the work of peacemaking must continue until the last gun is silent. I come to you in my grief only because you keep alive the work and dreams for which my husband gave his life. My husband arrived somewhere to his strength and inspiration from the love of all people who shared his dream, that I too now come hoping you might strengthen me for that lonely road ahead. It was on April 4th, 1967, that my husband gave his major address against the war in Vietnam. On April 4th, 1968, he was assassinated. I remember how he agonized over the grave misunderstanding which took place as a result of his position on the Vietnam War. His motives were questioned, his credentials were challenged, and his loyalty to this nation maligned. Now, 1 year later, we see almost unbelievable results coming from all of our united efforts. But just as conscientious actions has reversed the tide of public opinion and government policy, we must now turn our attention and the sole force of the movement of people, the goodwill of the problems of the poor here at home. My husband always saw the problem of racism and poverty here at home and militarism abroad as two sides of the same coin. In fact, it is even very clear that our policy at home is to try to solve social problems through military means, just as we have done abroad. The interrelatedness of domestic and foreign affairs is no longer questioned. The bombs we drop on the people of Vietnam continue to explode at home with all of their devastating potential. And so I would invite you to join us in Washington in our effort to enable the poor people of this nation to enjoy a fair share of America's blessing. There is no reason why a nation as rich as ours should be blighted by poverty, disease, and illiteracy. It is plain that we do not care about our poor people, except to exploit them as cheap labor and victimize them through excessive rents and consumer prices. Our Congress passes laws which subsidize corporation farms, oil companies, airlines, and houses for suburbia. But when they turn their attention to the poor, they suddenly become concerned about balancing the budget and cut back on the funds for Head Start, Medicare, and mental health appropriations. We will be marching towards Washington soon. On Thursday, May 2nd, we will return to Memphis to begin where my husband was slain and kick off his Poor People's Campaign. We will be marching towards Washington to demand that America share its abundant life with all of its citizens. Thank you. We'll see you at the African American Read-In.